Hello everybody, welcome to Robert Morris University Math 0900 Chapter 1 Lesson 5. In this lesson we are going to learn how to use the order of operations to simplify numerical expressions. The reason that we use the order of operations is to ensure that everybody is following the same steps to arrive at the correct answer. Way back whenever people were first learning how to do math, thousands and thousands of years ago, individuals were trying to solve problems, and many of them were doing the problems in many different ways, and they were doing them incorrectly. So you had people who were just doing all of these different steps. There was no uniformity, and people were arriving at many different answers, many of which weren't correct to the problems. So there was a need for uniformity, and there was a need for a set of correct steps so that we would arrive at a correct answer. So thus we have the order of operations. So the first thing that we do when we have to follow, whenever we are following the order of operations, is do anything that is located inside a set of parentheses. That is step number 1. The second thing that you would want to look for is anything that is raised to a power, or any number that has an exponent to it. After you have taken care of any operations inside the parentheses, after you have simplified any powers or exponents, the next thing that you would do is divide and multiply from left to right. Multiply and divide from left to right. It's very important that you remember that you do your multiplication and division from left to right as it appears in your expression. If the multiplication comes first, you do it first. If the division comes first, you do it first. And then lastly, you do your addition and subtraction from left to right. Again, it's very important that you make sure that you take care of that addition and subtraction in the order that it appears in your expression. Whichever comes first, you do first. There are a couple of useful tools that can help you remember the order of operations. One of the most used is the acronym Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, where each letter of that acronym stands for an operation in the order of operations. So we have parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. A lot of people just simply memorize the word PEMDAS. Again, each letter is standing for an operation in the order of operations. One thing that I found to, just a little real life blurb here, was last year whenever I was flipping through some radio stations, it was a morning that I was driving to work. Mikey and Big Bob, who are radio hosts for KISS FM, announced that they were having a contest on their Facebook page that required you to solve a numerical problem using the order of operations correctly in order to win a prize. And I had thought to myself, wow, how easy, like that everybody should be able to win that one. And I just kind of went on the Facebook page just to see what people were doing. I'm personally not the type of person who's going to log in and try to win stuff, but I was shocked at the number of people who were solving the problem wrong because they did not know their order of operations, which is something that people nowadays are taught pretty much in the 7th and 8th grade with the way that we have our education system structured at this time. So the way that we teach algebra and math now, you really do need to learn the order of operations. So we're going to now take a look at some examples. And the first one that we have here is 2 minus 4 times 3. We do not have any parentheses. We do not have any exponents. So the next thing that we look for is multiplication and division. We do have multiplication, so what we're going to look at is the negative 4 times 3. you have to remember that the sign that's directly in front of the number belongs to that number. So you're going to treat that as a -4, even though we read that as a subtraction when we put it together in the string of numbers. So when we do -4 times 3, that does make a -12. So we're going to write 2, and you're going to put that -12. Oh, I hit that little keyboard. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So then now that we have done that multiplication, we're now ready to do the subtraction. Our signs are different, so we are told to subtract. So 12 take away 2 is 10. Since 12 had the bigger absolute value, our value will be negative. The next problem, we don't have any parentheses, but we do have an exponent. So everything else in the problem just needs to carry on down into the next line. In algebra, we do work vertically. Everything should be brought down from line to line to line, and your final answer should always just be the last line of your problem. So I did evaluate 5 squared and got 25. Now we're going to look for any multiplication or division from left to right. You'll notice that the first thing that we have is division, so we do that first. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Now we're going to bring down everything else that we have. Look for any multiplication or division again. Make sure that that's all taken care of. We do have multiplication. 6 times 3 makes 18 plus 25. We need to do that as our last step. 18 plus 25 makes 43, and there we have our final answer. Moving on to letter C, we're going to look for parentheses. Now we do have a set of parentheses here, but they are the only purpose that they are serving is a cosmetic purpose, and they are just there to let us know that the base of that exponent is -3. And since the power is odd, we know that the result of that exponent will be negative. So 3 to the third power is 27. Bring down my minus sign. 2 to the fourth power is going to be 16. Our signs are the same, so we know that we can add and keep the sign. 27 plus 16 is 43. So here we are following the order of operations. Our next problem has parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, adding, and subtracting. It has a little bit of everything. So we're going to go ahead and walk through this problem together, and then I'm going to have you do letter E on your own. So we're going to start by taking care of what is inside the parentheses first. So we're going to bring down the 2 and the multiplication symbol. 2 minus 3 is -1, and that is still raised to the third power. Plus 6 divided by 3, plus 8 minus 5 is 3, and that is raised to the second power. Notice how I kept the parentheses around the one that I did, but not the other. The reason is because that base is negative. I need those parentheses there. Now that I have taken care of the operations that were inside the parentheses, we need to evaluate our exponents. So we're going to bring down the 2, bring down the multiplication sign. Since my power is odd, my answer will be negative. 1 to the third power is still just 1. Bring down everything else because we got to go take care of that other exponent. 3 to the second power is 9. And now we're ready to take care of any multiplication or division that we encounter from left to right. 2 times -1 is -2. 6 divided by 3 is 2 plus 9. And now we can take care of any adding or subtracting from left to right. -2 plus 2, those cancel each other out. They make 0. Our answer is 9. Go ahead and pause the recording and take care of letter E on your own. And whenever you're ready, you can come back and check your work. Okay, by now you should have had letter E completed on your own. Let's go ahead and check to see what you've done. The first thing that you should have done here is taken care of this subtraction inside your parentheses. 7 minus 9 is negative 2. Since that base is negative, you do need to keep it inside the parentheses. Bring down everything else, and we're going to move on over and take care of 5 minus 6, which is negative 1. Again, that base is negative, so we do need to keep it inside the parentheses. We're now going to go ahead and evaluate our exponents. Since 2 is even, our result will be positive. So 2 to the second power will make 4. We're going to bring down everything else. Since my result here is, well, since my power is odd, I know that my result will be negative. So 1 to the third power is 1. Please notice that when you have a plus a negative, that will always simplify to a minus. So you can simply rewrite that as just the 2 minus 1 in this step. There's no need to write plus a negative. If you feel more comfortable writing plus negative 1, feel free to do so. That's perfectly fine. In the next line, we're going to take care of any multiplication or division from left to right. We have 5 plus 8, and then we have negative 18 divided by 2, which is going to give us a negative 9, minus 1, or if you took care of that as a plus negative, you would write plus a negative 1. Now we're going to add and subtract from left to right. You may want to use that associative property and combine your positives and your negatives. 5 plus 8 is 13. Negative 9 and negative 1 can combine to make negative 10. And then we have 13 minus 10, which is 3. We have just 2 more examples here in this section. I'm afraid that if I start them now, that I will time out on my 15-minute session. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording, and I will show you how to solve them in the next one. So you can go ahead and solve them, and I will go over the answers in part 2 of this recording.